happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. You guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. Just as that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis thought she was out of the legal crosshairs of the Justice Department, she's right back in it as she just got caught breaking even more laws in this newest update, guys. I'm excited to get into it, so we're not straight into it. I'll ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's get straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
Key piece of evidence where Fani's office said Timpson had threatened somebody. That, thanks to the free beacon we are going to listen to.
As 2021 begins, you're in your new role that has the same duties and more, and you're now reporting to Michael Cuffey instead of Paul Howard.
Correct.
Did you notice any irregularities or problems with the administration of this OJJDP grant?
Yes, in early March of 2021, after a lot of the administrative work was done on the grant, we need to now get to work. And so Michael Cuffey, who is the new Chief Programs Officer, invited myself and my colleague, who also co-wrote the grant, into a meeting just so he could understand the scope of the grant. In this meeting, this was the first time that he kind of mentioned that what he wanted to spend the grant on, and he articulated that he wanted to spend the grant on computers, travel, and swag. And at the time, we were saying swag because there was a lot of rebranding going on, and so like each unit now had their own sweaters and their own mugs and stuff, and there was a complete and total rehaul of the building and stuff. So this idea of having swag was like a big thing. So those are the three things.
Trinkets. These are pins and coffee cups and T-shirts and sweatshirts, things promoting the new district attorney?
Correct. Okay. And so I quickly kind of interjected and let him know that those were not things that we could do with the grant. At that point, it seemed as if he hadn't read the grant narrative, and so I just wanted to educate him. I was a bit concerned, but at that point, it was the first time I had heard of it. I just tried to kind of set him straight and tell him like, oh, we can't do that. It's really specific, and it's specific to programming. We can't buy any equipment, and that was a huge thing because in the grant narrative, in the grant budget, it says specifically no equipment, and so his idea for wanting to get computers and even pay for travel, like those are completely out of the scope of the grant.
Okay. And you know that because you wrote the grant?
Correct.
And in the grant plan you tell how the money is going to be spent?
Correct.
And in the budget you identify how it's intended to be spent?
Correct.
Did any of those documents provide for spending money on swag?
No.
Did any of those documents provide for spending money on computers or other equipment?
No, sir.
Did any of those documents or budgets provide for money to be spent for travel?
No.
Okay. And how about on the junior DA grant? I think we called that the JAG grant. Were you continuing to administer that in March of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And did you notice or detect or hear about any intentions to improperly spend that money?
Not in March, but as time went on, yes.
So what happened when you straightened Michael Cuffey out and after he had told you his intentions of how he intended to spend the money, you told him that was illegal? What was his reaction?
Initially, he let me know that it was the employees in the DA's office call Miss Willis Madam, so he let me know that it was Madam's vision, and I basically said, okay, I understand that, but that's not what the grant says. And as the director of the grant, I wanted to make sure that I was careful and clear what the grant said. And this grant was written prior to her coming in the office. I assumed at the time that maybe they just weren't aware, but I just wanted to make him aware that that is not what the grant says.
Okay. Did you hear further conversations about the misuse of the money, or did he follow your advice and not spend it on swag and travel and equipment?
So initially, that was just the initial time. I continued to be persistent and to let him and everybody else know that we could not spend the grant in that manner. And he persisted to say that that was what we were going to do with the grant. In weekly meetings, we had weekly program team meetings. He would say that, so it was multiple people that heard his intentions to spend this money that way. And I was just persistent in letting him know that that was not what we could do. And I noticed as I persisted to let him know that my treatment drastically started to change. Yes, specifically from Michael Cuffey, in the form of being disinvited to meetings or being blatantly rude, or when I said, hey, we can't do that, just staring directly into my eyes and then just walking off. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know, if this was an intimidation factor or what was going on, but I just knew I had to stand my ground because I was, fearful of the misuse of funds.
Okay. Well, so the story ends there, or did you continue your complaints?
No, I continued my complaints. Ultimately, in May of 2021, the overwhelming retaliation and pushback got so bad, I sent an email to Miss Willis and I told her that I had followed the chain of command to no avail and I really needed to speak with her. At this time, I believed that she had no idea what was going on, and I wanted to make her aware of what I saw to be a potentially illegal and dangerous situation, and I didn't want there to be any scandal related to her administration. Effective immediately, you're going to be moved, and demoted me to the role of file clerk. So immediately,
You went from a department head to a file clerk.
Correct, a program head. So I went from the director of juvenile diversion to a file clerk, which changed not only the function of my job, it changed my schedule, it changed my location, it changed, this is frivolous, but I was taken off the website. I was essentially banished for what I saw to be protecting her at the time.
Did she say why you were being demoted?
No, not at that time. The meeting lasted maybe 2 to 5 minutes because she cut me off immediately and told me I was demoted. So I was kind of left flabbergasted, and I reached back to her that evening via email just to get some clarity. And because of the fact that the first time I spoke with her regarding these funds, I was demoted, I decided to record her.
But I feel like as far as that, this meeting, I just need to know that, as hard as I will go for you, just, if nothing else, respect and honesty. That's it, and don't throw me out to the wolves, because that's not for me. And it's hard for me in this space because I grew up in a way that if something happens like that, you fight back physically. You know what I mean? And so I get emotional because I'm like, I'm grown now.
I want to fight, but I
am grown now.
So, so to piggyback off of partially what Ms. Toole was saying, I think that would be good. You having your own space. I don't know if Ms. Toole, you can make a decision now, but on that back wall, that one office is going to be vacant. That may be a good space for Ms. Timpson if you would like to be in that location.
Now you just heard the recorded conversation, or at least piece of it, right? But Fani Willis's office reported it like this. Ms. Timpson made comments during staff meetings with myself and another deputy that she wanted to violently attack her previous supervisor and that, quote, I'm from Compton. I don't know how to respond to emails. I'd be ready to fight. I want to punch him in the effing head, quote. So this is what Fani's office is saying that Ms. Timpson said. Ms. Timpson also expressed in the same meeting that her previous supervisor, quote, made her feel like she felt as a child when the adults didn't believe her when certain things were being done to her. Y'all, this seems to be alluding to some pretty heinous activity, if you know what I mean. It says, For the sake of her privacy and disclosure of personal events in her life, I'm choosing not to state the exact events that she disclosed. So this is, you heard the audio, and now you see the report that's coming out of that meeting.
And I think it was just because I was fearful of what type of retaliation even bringing it up would have. I was in her office for probably about 90 minutes.
The whistleblowing was bringing up the misuse of federal funds.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I was in her office for about 90 minutes. While I was in the office with her, I received to my county phone a request for a meeting request for January 18th at 2 p.m. From Miss Willis and Dexter Bond. I told Miss Niger Thomas in that meeting that I did not feel safe going into that meeting by myself. And she said that she would have a member of the Fulton County Human Resources Department accompany me to that meeting if I didn't feel safe. And I asked.
Did Ms. Willis tell you in that phone text the purpose or the reason for the January 18th meeting?
No, it was just it just came to my email from my phone, from my county phone.
So it was an email.
Yes. And so I guess I left that meeting scared, but kind of glad that I felt somebody else was essentially like in my corner to advocate for me. Somebody would be with me at that meeting on the 18th, so I wouldn't be by myself. And I went back to my area and continued on my Excel spreadsheet that I started that morning. About 20 to 25 minutes later, there's like a knock on the side of the thing, and they said Capers Green, who was the chief investigator for under Miss Willis, he said, Miss Timpson, I got some unfortunate documentation for you. I need you to get your stuff and we're going to walk you out the building. And he handed me my termination letter. And
immediately after you meeting with the director of the Diversity and Civil Rights Compliance Division.
Yes.
You think she ratted you out or told them that you were making these complaints?
I believe that Ramona Toole, in the conversation that we had that morning, went directly to Miss Willis, and I think that it's possible that Niger Thomas said something. I cannot speak to that, but I think it's more likely that Ramona Toole, who is a good friend and ally of Miss Willis, must have went to her office and let her know that I told her what was going on. And ultimately, I was walked out of the building by 7 armed investigators and given a letter that was completely, it just says that I'm an at-will employee and that my services were no longer needed.
Didn't give a reason for your termination?
They did not include, I didn't receive a separation letter for almost 2 months because they refused to give that to me, but when they did, it just said employee discharge. So I had no understanding to this day because ultimately the PDP that Cuffey had written was, Ms. Willis did say that was null and void. He didn't follow proper channels. There was no documentation. So there was I have never received a warning in the almost 4 years that I was at the DA's office. In fact, the opposite. I have received praises from both Ms. Willis and Mr. Howard. My entire time at the DA's office, I've never required or received any disciplinary action on any level outside of the retaliation and ultimate termination from my job.
So all of this has resulted in a lawsuit Ms. Timpson has filed. Y'all, you know, who knows which way this is gonna go, but it looks like Fani's activity, her office's activity, might have gotten Fulton County on the hook for yet another payout.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. You know what they say, what's done in the dark definitely come to light. And Miss Fani Willis, she thought she had got away with it. I remember hearing this back earlier last year. we seen Amanda Timpson, her whistleblower testimony against Fani Willis, saying that she was not treating her staff properly. If you weren't on board with the corruption, you got the boot. And that's what we're seeing right here. But it looks like Fani Willis missed a step. She tried to trip this lady up, writing false testimony, falsifying documents in order to fire this lady Amanda Timpson for absolutely nothing. But she didn't expect Amanda Timpson to have this all on record. She recorded every single bit, every detail, and Miss Fani Willis, you're going down. There is no way to wiggle your way out of this one. I mean, Amanda Timpson made sure to dot her I's, cross her T's every step of the way. She's got evidence. She caught you in 4K. I mean, walking her out of the office immediately after she goes to the head of the head and complains about the way you guys are misusing grant money in order to buy swag, take lavish trips, and once again enrich her lifestyle. Oh my god, you literally cannot make this kind of stuff up, you guys. Definitely going to be following any updates that come on this one. But definitely make sure you guys hop in that comment section, let me know your thoughts. Comment section is open. I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking about this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next week.